Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SATAL 2020. I'm your host, Moltar, joined as always by the mustache man himself, Billy. How you doing this morning, Billy?
I'm doing pretty darn good, man. Ready for some action. It's Saturday morning. Let's get her done.
I am too. We've got JTFF. I think it's Joint Task Force. I think. God, I always screw these names up. Against Task Force Trident, but I'm going to make sure that I get the name right. But any news, Billy, before we jump into this? Anything new going on with you?
I mean, nothing too crazy. Getting excited for a bunch of stuff that's going to be releasing in the fall. I know me and the boys have been talking a lot about that Star Wars Squadrons game that I guess a bunch of creators got their hands on it. Looks like that's going to have... I know there was a lot of skepticism from us. Depth and how feature rich that's going to be, and from everything I saw, it looks like it's going to hit pretty close to the mark as far as what we were expecting. I know tough to please everybody there, but at the end of the day, I think that's going to be a lot of fun with the strategies and tactics involved in that, and the HOTAS availability and all that. I know a lot of stuff that aside from DCS and the combat sim side of things has been kind of lacking with support for HOTAS and all that, so nice to see that. So
yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know that I'll play it. It looks interesting, and they say it's Joint Task Force France is the name of who's flying today. So Joint Task Force France taking on Task Force Trident. Supercut coming at you right now, courtesy of Alpha Whiskey. Hang tight. Match of the day, Joint Task Force France taking on Task Force Trident. Coming at you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for the video repeating itself, but we are here. Joint Task Force France taking on Task Force Trident. We're sitting on the runway here at Maycop. I believe they're taking off fighting Sanaki, so a little bit of a distance going on here. I think this is going to be a mountain fight, Billy, which we haven't seen a lot of lately. It's been a lot of flatlands terrain or feet wet or anything along those lines. We haven't seen a lot of mountains this year. There's been some, but not a lot.
This is an interesting airport selection here with the distance and the terrain in between the two. I think it provides pretty good battlefield for these guys. I think the terrain, obviously, if used well enough, can be a huge factor at certain times, especially in certain areas of this map. So, looking forward to see how these guys use that.
Sorry, guys, just fixing the times here. It looks like one of the streams got paused for a few seconds, so I'm just fixing it. Chat, what do you guys have any inclinations of how this is going to roll? What's going to happen? Who's going to come out on top? We got, looking at, I think this is Task Force Trident. We got 2 F-16s and 2 14s. So we've been seeing more 14s this year. I've been really excited about that. It's been nice to see a little bit of a change of pace in these matchups. Last year we didn't see a lot of 14s, and this year we're seeing, I won't say it's overtaking everything, but it's definitely more prominent. We'll just say that. That's been nice to see. Chat, do you think that this is gonna, anything's gonna happen? You think the Phoenix is gonna show up? Chat, what do you guys think is gonna go down? As I fix these cameras, because I gotta update the scoreboard. Billy, without ruining anything in the future, what do you think is gonna happen? I mean, let's say, do you know what Joint Task Force France is flying today? While I update the
I believe they're in a majority
logos.
F-16s. I might be mixing the two teams up though here. I know one team I think was more 16 heavy and the other team more 14 heavy, but I think there was both on either side. It was just more of a mix. I don't think there was anything too obscure. I want to say it was 16s and 14s here, but I might be wrong.
Okay, so I got the logos updated. And you know what? We're gonna go take a look at what the other team is flying as we zoom in there. So let's jump down to Sanaki, take a look at what Joint Task Force France is flying. Let's flip over here. So Joint Task Force France is flying all F-16s. You were correct. So they're represented by Marco, Gemini, Raf, and Tiger. And then up here with the Task Force Trident side, this is a bigger mission area. We've got Chewie, Rage, Rex, and Plague Doctor. So F-16s and F-14s are the name of the game today. And do you remember from your brief look-throughs on everything what weapon restriction we're running? Is it A or B? We seen any C's or B's?
I believe it's B's. I believe it's Mark A or Mark 60 Alphas and 120Bs, I believe.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay.
You might be able to zoom in on one of those Phoenixes and just peel off or tell by the model number on, or even the 120.
I think all the Phoenixes use the same livery.
Is it the same through one? I think the 120s are different, so you might. Be
I
able
think
to
the
pull it.
Phoenixes they all say C. I think.
They all say C.
But I could be wrong. I thought that's what ended up happening, but you know, knowing me, I'm probably
wrong. It seems to vary in DCS rather greatly, like which ones are actually have their own independent liveries versus like I know I've seen some where like you know it's the same variant but marked differently via a livery like that. But not sure. It's interesting. I'm sure chat will probably tell us what the deal is there.
Yeah, yeah. Task Force Trident says his skin's not working. I just dropped him in. I'll have to see him check what's going on with the liveries. I'm not entirely sure.
Does that work through the tracks? I don't remember if that actually worked through tracks. I think it does.
I think it does.
I think it does. I don't recall if it's on.
I don't know why it wouldn't.
Right. It seems like it would all, you know, because it's basically doing the same thing there. So
I'm pretty sure it does. Maybe I'm mistaken. But again, ladies and gentlemen, for anybody just joining us today, this is Task Force Trident taking on Joint Task Force France. So lots of task forces coming today. All F-16s. We got 6 F-16s and 2 14s taking the showcase between Maycop and Sanaki. We've seen the Phoenix do some work here lately. I'm curious to see if the Phoenix is going to continue to do work. I'm anxious to see if the big boomstick, the telephone pole-sized missile released from the dump truck, very maneuverable dump truck, is able to take it to the opposition today. So Joint Task Force does not have any Tomcats, while Task Force Trident has 2. Not entirely sure what's going on with my my tracks. They're kind of freaking out. Was there any lag or anything? I wonder when this was flown. When I select a different player window, it doesn't like it. Interesting. Well, let's pause this one and jump over here. Well, guys, we may just be running on one camera today. Not entirely sure why it's doing that.
It's a bit wonky.
It is a bit wonky. Let me exit this, shut down that, close this, close this. I'm just closing a bunch of background applications to make sure that nothing's going on. Maybe my wife's streaming something and my PC's like freaking the hell out because of it. Not entirely sure. It shouldn't be the case. It doesn't like it when I don't select the... Maybe it's because we're on the ground. I bet you that's why.
I feel like in DCS in general, around the base lately, it's been a little weird. You're talking networked clients. Single player, though, running smooth as butter these days, man.
Yeah, single player's looking good, but multiplayer's doing some weird stuff. It's doing some bizarre stuff. So we're just going to focus on one camera angle, and I'm going to pause it and catch the other camera angle up when these guys get into the air. So we're going to ride along with Rage as he taxis their formation of 2 Tomcats and 2 16s for Task Force Trident over to the main runway. Maybe if I put this on... Yeah, I think it's just the location of the map. Because when I jump to the map, like the F10 view, it fixes itself. So, I don't know.
You know, I'd be curious to ask chat, has anyone tried that new Hornet campaign that got dropped this week? I was going to try to find some time next week and give that a go myself, but be curious if anyone's dove into that yet.
I have not, but I have never flown any campaigns. I have never really done any single player in DCS ever. I mean, the only single player I've ever done is Instant Actions to test stuff.
Yeah.
And I did things in the A10 to like learn things. And I've done, like when the 16 came out and the 18 came out, I did it to learn the module itself. Like I did the trainings and I would do the instant actions to find things.
It's just, as someone who's a member of like a group that flies together, finding time to fly by myself feels almost impossible. It's like I'd like to do it, especially I want to get the Baltic Dragon one. You know, I read the book. I'd like to do the campaign, but it's like it sucks to not be able to have any of this stuff to kind of do with your buddies. You know, it's like I hope, I know the dynamic campaign thing. Obviously, you know, we've had the conversations about that, but just some of these campaigns just release some even like a 4-player version of some of it would be nice.
It looks like some of the private skins are working and some of them are not. So I don't know what the deal is. I dropped them in. Didn't change anything. I just dropped them in. Did what you guys told me to do. Quick shout out to Gordo B. He's already dropped 10 gifted subs this morning. So congratulations to anyone that has been on the receiving end of his generosity.
Gordo, back to work again.
He is back to work. It's like his job. Supporting competitive DCS and making a thing. Ortaro Men says I dropped them too hard. Possibility. Possibility. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be going back to a 2-camera setup after these guys depart. It was just kind of, we were slideshowing, and I hazard to guess that it has something to do with our location here up here at Maycop, and it just doesn't like, my PC doesn't like running both of them at the same time for some reason. So we'll try it again here in the air, because the map, or the F10 view, seems to be working fine. Don't have any issues with it. You think the F-16 is going to show up today, Billy? It's been lackluster lately. Billy died.
Understands,
died.
you know, how to get them. Oh, no. There? Am I back?
Now I can hear you. Yep. Nope. He's gone.
You can really do a lot, but you really have back, gone, back.
I think Discord's now shitting itself.
You know, I noticed our convo is on a South server, which seemed fitting, but yet also not what we're normally on. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but may want to jump ship on that one, see if we can't get some better performance.
Maybe. Let me see if.
Does it seem like it's stabilized?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get that 120 cooking with some speed out of that thing, it can be pretty deadly. But I feel like we see a lot of guys shooting under Mach in that thing, and it's I don't know if they realize how much of a waste it is unless you're super close at that point.
And I know, guys, it's a slideshow. I'm trying to align things here. I think it's the terrain. I'm pretty sure it's the terrain, because the other client isn't having as many issues. So if we just give it the sky, let's just give it the sky here. Seems to be doing a bit better. I think it's the terrain. I'm gonna have to look at that when we go to a break and see if we can get that fixed. I'm gonna bet, Billy, that we get 2 Phoenix kills in this opening round.
I wouldn't bet against the Phoenix in most cases, but that is a tricky situation, right? I think the Phoenix isn't as dependent as the person who knows how to shoot it as much as it is dependent on the person who knows how to evade it. Right? Evading the Phoenix, I think, almost as difficult as learning how to shoot it, specifically if we're talking from the backseat, right? You know, there's a large learning curve involved in that, you know, right?
Turning these trees down, see if that... Turning the trees down seems to have helped quite a bit.
It's all those damn squirrels is the problem.
I guess. I got it on flat shadows, so... it could be. I mean, that's a good point, Task Force Trident, but exporting the data shouldn't really be that big of an impact unless it's the game's really shitting itself. We haven't had this problem in the past unless there's a bunch more people running the live TAC view.
I have it up. I can turn mine off then.
I mean, maybe that's what it is.
I can disconnect, see if that helps.
But I don't think it is, because it's just when whatever client isn't the active client in DCS. So maybe what I'll end up doing is we'll just run one of these as an F10 map and the other one as a client. Maybe we'll roll it like that, because the F10 map doesn't have any problem. I'm just gonna have to look at this after the stream. Today has just been a issue after issue that I've been trying to troubleshoot. I mean, DCS was, the dedicated servers took a massive dump this morning that I had to fix for the SATAL matches that were taking place today, and it's just not going well for me. When it rains, it pours.
It does. It does. It tends to be the way life goes sometimes, right?
Not sometimes. It's all the time. Good things happen. They all come together. When bad things happen, they all come together.
And it's 2020, so everything's extra fucked.
Well, yeah. I mean, 2020, it's just one fucked thing after the next.
Yeah.
Be careful. I mean, if we say something that's too screwed up, it'll actually happen.
Yeah, that's true. You never. Nothing surprises me these days.
I'm going to miss having dual cameras. I don't know what's going on with it. I bet you it's my wife streaming something. So I'm going to turn off the Plex server and see if that fixes it. 27, 28. So I guess let's see. Did that fix it? I think my wife was streaming something and my CPU was crying. So I think we have fixed it.
That happened.
I blame my wife. Whenever in doubt, blame your worst half.
Saturday morning, Molzar. She, just like everybody else around here, she's just trying to enjoy her Saturday morning.
Really, it's me that always screws things up. It's not her. It's almost always me.
Well, as somebody who tends to be at the center of the screw ups, I know that feeling quite well.
Let's take a look at formations as we ingress here. Task Force Trident is in a close proximity 4-ship. Got their traditional 4-ship formation going on, and then Task Force Trident is doing a wide separation between their two elements here. They're 16 miles separated currently, 2-ship and 2-ship. We'll have to see how that plays out, if that's going to have any impact on the match, whether positively for Joint Task Force France or negatively where they just end up isolating themselves. I'm really interested to see if this develops, if they separate any more than this, if this is going to develop into two separate fights, because when you get so far separated, it gets really difficult to provide mutual support to your friendlies on the other side of the action area. Whereas if you're separated but close enough, let's say 15 miles or 10 miles, you're close enough to be able to help your friendlies if they get in the crapper. Xander, you never know when you have a wife where she is. And right when I said that, I looked over my shoulder, like, because I frankly don't know. She could be right behind me for all I know.
I like how Task Force Driver was like, she was watching the stream.
Oh, probably.
that was the problem. She was watching our stream.
Probably.
It's
knowing my luck.
It's pricey.
Well, I've got... Where are the other Task Force Trident guys? I don't see them. Oh, they're further to the left? Maybe they're too far away? Oh, there they are. Okay. He's looking around on Rex's camera like, where's everybody else? I couldn't find them, and they're way above us. So that makes more sense. Billy, some of the guys have pointed out that the F-16s are taking the targeting pod. Do you think that's going to play a role here? It doesn't have a lot of functionality.
Does the air-to-air work? I don't think the air-to-air. I mean, maybe
I don't know.
I don't. Maybe it's working in this build, and I just haven't checked it yet. I don't know. I mean, chat, hook us up with some info there. If we know that air-to-air is working, that's some pretty substantial stuff. But if it's not, I'm struggling to see why those guys run that type of load. I mean, you're just adding some extra drag at this point. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is a reason out there that we're just not thinking of. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the targeting pod in air-to-air with the Hornet now. It is quite a nice feature, but you really got to kind of work in the mental aspect of how to process that information and what to do with it. Knowing someone shot at you the moment the missile leaves the rail is certainly good information to have, but what do you do with it is the question.
That's true. And chat says it's not working.
Yeah, so I didn't think it was. It's a strange one. I'm not gonna lie there.
Separation between the two teams is down to 60 miles. First Mark 47 came off the rails from Rage. We are going to grab that missile, and we are going to see if it has any impact on the match. So we are riding along with Rage's Mark 47. I'm going to flip over to the other view, and I'm going to try and set up a split screen for you guys coming in here. So here's the dual view, map view, and the Phoenix as it ingresses. So as it gets closer, we're going to switch to the F2 view for that particular targeted aircraft, but I don't want to do that too soon because we don't know who it's targeting. It looks like Rage actually launched a second Phoenix. Those are 60 miles. But Billy, as we found out with the Phoenix in the past, if everybody's high and they don't defend, it really doesn't matter. The missile's able to maintain its energy state quite well, though that Phoenix just did something really weird. It bled like 400 knots of energy.
Yeah,
that was quite bizarre.
You know, it really is about whether you notice that 14 come up on your RWR, meaning, you know, their radar is painting you at that point. They're looking at you. You're probably in TWS, some sort of TWS solution at that point, right? So you got to know you're in range, and it's all about on that guy whether he's ready to push the button or not. So, you know, you have to ask yourself, am I gonna, you know, joust this here and know that the moment, you know, I feel like he's shot, I need to be turning or notching well before you get that RWR warning. But if you don't do that, if your head's down in the cockpit, you're staring at the radar, you don't see that 14 has popped up on your RWR, and you keep flying straight into it. If you wait until that RWR spike goes off from that pit bull on the Phoenix, I'm not sure what it is now, but I think they said once everything's all said and done, what is it, 7.5 nautical miles and 16 seconds or something like that on
that sounds about right.
Yeah, so I think you know, you play with those numbers a little bit with our current build, but you know, based upon what we're supposed to be getting with that, it's not a whole lot of time, right? You know, you think about how long that is to evade, and that's quite a bit of time. You got to really maneuver that aircraft and not allow that aircraft to get too slow and that missile to get an advantage on you.
Right. Well, Marco did a really good job of defending that. He defended early, got lower, dragged the missiles down into thicker air, and didn't wait to get that RWR warning. He didn't wait. And it looks like Tiger down here to the south and RAF down here to the south for Joint Task Force France, they both had to defend 2 Phoenixes as well. So it looks like both Tomcats have launched 2 Phoenixes, and everyone that those Phoenixes were launched at did a decent job in defending them. Now Marco, who we're riding along with, launches a 120 at Plague Doctor. Plague Doctor, who's out there probably for 15 miles, responds with a 120 of his own, but they're so far away, I just really don't see them as being effective. And let's move to the map so you guys can get a top-level view and see what exactly is going on. Phoenix is just coming past RAF. That's not a factor. Another Phoenix was launched not too long ago against Tiger. So let's go to Tiger's viewpoint and see if that Phoenix is going to pose any more of a... Tiger's in a bit of a pickle. Tiger's in trouble. So if we go to split view, we're going to be able to see the Phoenix on the map and from Tiger's point of view, and he's actually effectively able to notch it. That missile flies by him, so it had enough energy to be able to impact him, but he's able to notch it, or not necessarily notch it, but just get it. Maybe he over-G'd it and out-G'd it, so the missile didn't have the energy to be able to stay with him. But another Phoenix moving back to the map view. Another Phoenix coming in against Raph, launched from Chewie. So lots of Phoenixes in the air. And this looks to be developing into a 2-area fight where Plague Doctor and Rage are taking on Marco and Gemini, and then Chewie and Rex are taking on Raph and Tiger in the southern arena. So Phoenix coming in against Raph, but that's already really, really slow at 800 knots. That missile's trashed. Billy, I really like what Joint Task Force is doing against these Phoenixes. They're defending early, and what I'm assuming flying ahead of the airplane and defending and making maneuvers before they even get that RWR warning.
Right. It definitely seems like there was a concentrated effort from the JTFF guys to get those Phoenixes out and at them early and in a way and be in a position to where they have the leverage over the missile almost the majority of the time. They pressed a little bit longer than maybe I would have liked, but they knew what they were doing there. It definitely seemed like they were ready and waiting for those Phoenixes to basic. And this is where Tomcat drivers, you don't need to shoot right away. I'm going to continue to make that point because we don't too many times we see teams roll, especially in gold. This is far more of a thing in Diamond. The Diamond League team guys seem to understand the power of holding off on that first initial push and what that can do for yourself later in the round. So a good thing to note there.
Chase asks, has anybody trimmed down the old SATAL events videos? Man, I have not had time to do that. I just haven't. Rage is getting a couple missiles launched on him. There goes a Phoenix, but is that Phoenix? That is a deadly Phoenix. That Phoenix is close. But is Rage going to be able to pull out of this? Yeah, he pulls that in time. That Phoenix, no, he doesn't. Rage flies straight into the ground. So he's able to get a Mark 47 off. Looks like it's coming in on Marco. So let's grab Marco here. Rage tried to over-defend and went splittily splat straight into the ground. Ground still undefeated in that arena. Planes, just, you're not as strong as the ground. Dirt will always be stronger than anything that you were made of. There's just too much of it. All you're doing is compacting it more.
Well, I hear Stellinium is pretty good against the ground.
Stellinium?
Yes.
Marco now defending Rex, who's behind him. And that 120's got some get up and go. 0.8 miles, 0.7 miles. He's going to line of sight it. He line of sights it. No, he doesn't. Comes right over the hill. That thing just flew treetop level, and I thought that was going to be it. But, man, I thought that was going to be, I thought he line of sighted that, but that flew right over the treetops. That gave the trees a haircut.
Yeah, he really flirted with that one and lost there. There's no doubt.
Well, he took his chance. He took his chance, and unfortunately, he got rejected.
It is the truth.
Now we've got a 120 battle coming between Rex, and I can't tell who that is. It's Gemini, and I think he's dead. He got caught with his pants down too high, too slow to get away from that. Rex got a sneak on and was able to take Gemini down. So well flown by Rex in that situation, being able to flank Gemini and put an effectively shot missile onto his target. Well done by him.
Good on TFT for adapting and overcoming here. They were throwing a little bit of a curveball, I think, with the formations and the tactics from the JTFF guys out the gate. And I think they did a very good job here responding in the initial moments of all of that, figuring that out. Yeah, they put those Phoenixes out, but they were pretty good shots at the end of the day. They were in good parameters to make those shots. So credit to those guys for adapting them.
Nothing's really going on right now. Tiger looks like he's pretty tunnel visioned onto Rex. So Rex, you can't even see him out there. Tiger's tunnel visioned onto him. Looks like he may be thinking about breaking away. I think he just jettisoned his drop tanks. Rex is now recommitting. So this is Rex's point of view. Rex is now recommitting back into the fight. I think that's an enemy missile out there. And, God, no. No, that is... Oh, no. I don't... that was Tiger's wreck that we saw at the end of it. He broke out of the fight and then just, I guess, overg'd his aircraft and flew into the ground. So...
I tried to catch the G load on TAC.
I didn't see it.
But I did not see it.
I didn't see it either. That's unfortunate. Ground 2-0 in this fight, says Unk, and Ground's undefeated.
Well, and I think it goes to, you know, something you bring up often in, you know, what happens in competitive play and the pressure of it, and, you know, how close to the edge people push things, and those evasions, and sometimes you're just in a bad position and you maneuver far too quickly, far too close to the ground. And I think that's just what we saw happen twice here today. Whether or not we saw blackouts is another question too, because that's why I was trying to check the G loads there to see if he was out before he even hit the ground, but tough to tell there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But now we've got, we're riding along with Raph, and he is coming up to be merged with Plague Doctor. He's head on. Nothing coming out from Plague Doctor. Did they see each other, or are they just going to fly by each other? I think they're just going to fly by each other. I don't think they see each other. That is unfortunate. Does Raph see him now? I think he's got him on his data link, is what I'm seeing here. But if we quickly move back to the overall view, you can see that Raph, he's got some stuff coming in on him. We've got the next turn coming in, head on past Raph and Plague Doctor, and I don't think... Well, Raph's in a much better position. Was that an AIM-9?
This is...
That's an AIM-9.
This is a pretty beautiful fight that develops here. A very nice one-circle fight. Tight in.
Well, Raph's just not taking his shots. He's not taking them when they're there. So it's like you're trying to flirt with a girl and she's giving you all the signals and you're just not taking them when you need to. And then when you do take them, it's way too late and you end up missing.
I'm not sure what his missile count is now. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm looking in TAC view, but I believe we estimated that he wasted his last 9M there and then was just maneuvering for guns kills for the majority of that one circle there.
Well, that makes sense.
It just didn't. He was in really good position to shoot.
He was.
Times after
he
that
was.
first AIM-9 shot. I'm assuming. I didn't look this time. I should have tried to pay attention to see if he shot another AIM-9 prior to that. But it just looked like he gambled on that first one. It was spoofed with flares, and then he was just angling for guns, and just that F-14 did a real good job at not giving him a good target on it. So some good down low flying by that F-14 there. I'm not sure. I know one side, I believe, had a Rio. I think it was the TFT guys. I'm not positive. I think we can look on the one website and figure that out pretty quickly.
And speaking of that, in Gold League, you do not have to have a Rio. You can use Jester as a Rio. In Diamond League, you have to have a Rio. So in Gold League, the Tomcat is a little more approachable where you don't have to have a backseater, just to throw that out there. Marco says during the debrief, who was that died? Tiger? Raph? I think it was Raph. Raph supposedly had some desync. So that makes a little bit of sense where maybe he thought he was in a better firing position than he was. But in that situation, I really don't like the AIM-9M. I don't like it, and I don't think it's a good weapon for the F-16.
I think people underestimate why the 9X exists and how powerful off or off axes, the ability to turn and move that quickly is for a lot of that stuff. So,
well, I don't think the 9M is a bad weapon. I just don't think it's a good weapon for the F-16 with its limited loadout. So I would much rather see multiple 120s in this situation. It looks like the round's over, so we're gonna jump back to the talk show view here. I'd much rather see Billy you take 6 120s. I mean, after the latest update from Eagle Dynamics with the missiles, the 120 is able to pull way better. I mean, the C didn't used to be able to pull hardly at all. And granted, we were flying with Bs, and the Bs have bigger fins, so they're able to pull a bit more G. So I would have much rather had seen him take 6 120s, and instead of trying to lock him up, just get the nose in front of who you're trying to shoot at and rip off a Mad Dog 120. I'd much rather see that. As soon as the missile comes off, it's going to see him, and you'll be surprised at how
I tend to
how
agree
much
with
G they can pull. And yeah, Gordo B says no warning, i.e. no RWR warning. That's true, but when you're that close, it doesn't matter if you get an RWR warning or not. You're gonna die. And odds are in that situation too that you
pretty optimal time there.
Yeah,
on that aim 9
yeah,
shots.
yeah. That's true. What is the advantage to the 9M? Darth asks in comparison to the 9X. The 9X, I think, has a bit longer range, and it can pull tremendously more amounts of G than the 9M can. And the 9X can shoot back. It can shoot 90 degrees off the rail. So
I'm going to find it hard for somebody to be looking back, see a shot, assume that it's something other than an IR. Like, I could easily see you shooting that 120 at somebody. They're going to flare. Even though their RWR just went off, if you're looking back, waiting for that IR shot, and then all of a sudden a radar, like a Fox 3 comes off the rail, you're still going to flare in that. Your brain it's too difficult to try to realize what you need to do in that situation. I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but I'm going to say it's probably going to be difficult for most people to recognize the fact that in that distance, in that time span, that they were engaged by a radar missile instead of a Fox 2. When your brain's so prepared at that distance to get an IR shot, you know.
That's true. And honestly, at that close to range, you're not getting away from a radar guided missile unless you can line of sight it, or if you're already really, really slow. But in that situation, if it has enough available G to be able to turn with you, you're just gonna die. There's nothing you can do.
Agreed.
I'm grabbing the tac view now.
Yeah, in an environment where you can't use the X, I think the 120 is certainly the better option than the M there.
Let's see. Okay. Tac view is open. So let's take a look and see what ends up going down with the tac view here.
Yeah, we need to remember to check the G load on those two.
Oh yeah, we do. Quick shout out to Southern Jumper. He's dropped, I think, about 1,000 bits, maybe 700 bits. So thank you very much, Jumper. Much appreciated. And then Gordo B is continuing to drop gifted subs. 1, 2, 3. I think he's dropped another 4 gifted subs. So congratulations to anybody that's been on the receiving end of any of those. Again, any funds that we generate here go right back into making this stream better. And I think you guys are right in that we may need to offload the dedicated tac view to another machine. Maybe that's what's killing me, is more people connect to things. Maybe that's taken up more of my my bandwidth, even though I think to me it seems like DCS. But anyway, sure. These guys take a while to take off, 22 minutes or so nothing happens. Billy, do you think that the separation of JTF played a role in this? It provides a lot. It creates a lot of difficulty in mutual support.
It does. It makes it difficult. Each of those two guys that break off have to really work hard to support each other, because that's all there's there to do. So those two guys have to be very good, you know, in each of their own rights, or each of those flights have to work really well together to really make that happen. So, you know, I think it can be, if you're not prepared to deal with those two flights splitting off that wide, I think it can be a real problem. If you have kind of something already planned out, or you've discussed what happens if they do that, I think that's a different story. I don't know whether the TFT guys had discussed that as a possible scenario, but it looked like they were, at least in the moment, able to mitigate, you know, the effect of it on the overall match, round rather.
So looking at the tac view, we are now riding along with Rage. He flips over after launching the Phoenix. He's not at 12G. I think he blacked out. Well, he's still maneuvering. Now he blacked out. There's the blackout right there.
Yep.
So he blacked out. That's in that situation, instead of just pulling straight into the vertical, it's really important that you slightly offset. Make sure you use your air brakes. Don't keep your engines wide open. Go back to engine idle because, as we've said repeatedly, the ground always wins.
Yes.
When you hit it. I mean, sometimes you can skid over the top when it's feeling generous, but in those situations, most of the time, it wins if you hit it hard enough. It likes to reach out and grab you. And this is the other one. I don't know what happened with Gemini. Let me back up and grab him. So he is rolling 18,000 feet. Not too fast. 450 knots indicated. There goes the missile. And I'm going to assume that he just pulls too hard. There's 9G. Or did he... Huh. I don't know what happened there. Doesn't look like he hit a mountain. Maybe he disconnected?
Tough to say there.
Oh, this is... No. This is the 120. This isn't the one that he blacked out. This is Rex taking out Gemini with that 120. Okay. So that wasn't the blackout.
I have to step away for one brief moment. Be right back.
I think this is it right here. This is the blackout. Okay. So let's grab this one. 7Gs. Maybe he just gets too low. I don't think he's pulling a ton of G. He's not blacked out yet. No, he just hits a tree. That's unfortunate. I guess he probably just wasn't paying attention, and Tiger ends up hitting a tree. That happens. You get sidetracked. Your brain starts thinking about a bunch of other stuff, and a tree jumps out of nowhere and takes you out. And looks like that's exactly what ended up happening in this situation, where he just got sidetracked and ended up getting touched or kissed by a tree. And trees, though they don't always win, can definitely win. Here's the merge coming with Raph and Plague Doctor, and I want to see Raph's point of view as he's going through this. So this is Raph's point of view. Plague Doctor is up here. So there's Plague Doctor. That would have been a decent shot for a 120. Or even an aim 9. That wouldn't have been bad. But it's just, I guess, like somebody from I think it was Marco was saying there was some desyncs. Maybe that's why he's continually shooting behind the aircraft. That would have been another opportunity for a 120 when they're turning back in front of you, or gunshots. So it's maybe just a little too hesitant, but it very well, like Marco said, could have been desync in these situations.
Back.
So quite a few opportunities there, but he waits too long, and then by the time after his wait has happened, he just gets ambushed by a gaggle of other Task Force Trident aircraft. And when you're 3v1 and you're to merge with somebody, it's really difficult to defend yourself unless you're totally surrounded by really high mountains and you can jump over a peak and disappear. In this situation, he was kind of in a valley, and if he would have broken away, I think Plague Doctor would have been in a pretty good situation to be able to come up and take it to him. But we're going to blame that on desync. Southern Jumper dropping another 500 bits, so thank you very much. We're going to send you back to the Supercut while I get round 2 set up. At this point in time, JTFF against Task Force Trident, or TFT, is down 1-0. So Task Force Trident up 1-0 over Joint Task Force France going into round 2. Enjoy the Supercut. Round 2 coming at you on this Saturday morning. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just finishing getting some stuff set up for the next round. Fast forwarding the clips. Getting them all on the same page so that we can move forward. I don't know why they were freaking out last time. Looking at the AWACS, they're both nice and smooth. They're not really freaking out. They're running at the same time. So I'm not entirely sure what was going on there in the last round. Blame Moltar when in doubt, though. It's usually my fault. Even when it's not my fault, it's usually my fault.
I don't know. There's a lot of outside actors there that don't make life easy on you, though. That's for sure.
Sometimes. Maybe it's just the mission location. I don't know. It's really bizarre though, because it's doing it again. Maybe it's the mission location. That's what we're gonna go with. Send that to F10 view, and we'll just use a single camera to get all this. Let the cameras or the views catch up, and then we will be going and getting going. Lack discipline. Do I look at the chat? I do look at chat. This is not air racing, Master Roan. Definitely not air racing. Air racing is, I think, starts now, later. When does the air race start?
Air racing, I think, started at 11ish. I don't know. I know Southern Jumper over there got himself a big race today. I think he's looking pretty good. He qualified with a real fast time there. Just talking about
what if we had air jousting, like real air jousting? What if that was a thing? And real quick, guys, I'm going to change the view so you guys can see what's going on. Air jousting. Like, what if you attach just big poles to these aircraft and see who came out without dying?
Dude,
or did it on helicopters?
DCS Renaissance Fair. We can have turkey legs and everything, dude.
Yeah, and you had to like run into each other with your refueling probes.
Oh, we'll create DCS refueling probe extensions. Jousting rods, whatever they're called. Lances, I think, right? Yeah, lance.
Come on, game. Why are you freaking out on me?
The turkey legs, though, dude. You kidding me?
Is the stream nice and smooth for you guys? Yeah, there's a lot of lag. Maybe it's my internet connection today. It's been doing some really weird stuff.
I'm still looking at tech view, I think.
Maybe. Let me kill TAC view. I just killed TAC view. It's nice and smooth on the on my screen, and it's smooth in OBS. Now it looks like it's smooth. No, it doesn't. Well, that's a fun one. Whenever I click in the game window, it gets not smooth. That's bizarre. Interesting. DCS, man, it just does some weird shit. I don't get it.
It really does.
Because when I'm not in that window and I have the other window selected, it's nice and smooth. Oh, this game.
Yeah, it's a strange one, man. Comparison to most.
I don't know why I'd be doing this. Everything's nice and smooth. I'm not dropping any frames. Yeah, DCS is worse.
I used to complain about Arma. Then I got into DCS and I was like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah.
Strange. Anything you think's gonna happen here, Billy?
You know, I I always, in between the rounds, I always like to point, is hopefully lessons are learned from the team that didn't, that didn't pull off the first round. You want to learn from those lessons, and you want to analyze very quickly what that other team did and try to counter that, right? I think, you ask those JTFF guys, they're going to tell you, well, not losing one guy out the gate, hopefully gives them a little bit better of a start or better overall finish just by not having that happen. So I think, a little bit of cleaning up on either side, and we see a similarly close match here.
Wonder how many people are connected. I wonder if it's TACView.
It might be, man. You might want to just kill it and see if it just increases it.
I don't think I can. Can I? Is there like a TACView process? I don't think there is. Nope, there's not. Really weird. I think it's because there's a ton of people connected to TACView. So I don't know what we're gonna.
Yeah. I canceled mine.
Sander, it's not the Tomcats. It's definitely not the Tomcats. It's.
I know they like. It's easy to blame them for a lot of the problems right now, but this is not one of them.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with TACView recording something, and maybe it's because it's doing it to both instances. Not entirely sure, but one of these instances is going really, really slow.
They do kill everything.
So what we're gonna end up doing is I'm just gonna kill one of these instances, and we're just gonna watch it over here for the time being, and I'm gonna troubleshoot this after this stream ends up getting going. So we're down to one camera. You guys should still have TACView for this, but we're down to one camera as I've paused the other instance, and maybe we just won't be able to do the live TACView. It'll suck, but it may just be killing my stuff. I mean, maybe you can run it, Billy, and we can just start the track at the same time.
The TACView?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a possibility for sure.
That could be something we could do. Maybe.
We'll do a little test in there, figure out what works.
These guys should be departing at any time now. We're sitting here with Joint Task Force France with Marco, Gemini, Raph, and Tiger on the ramp. Gordo B, 60% of the time. It works every time. With DCS, it's like 60% of the time. It fails every time.
Also fact.
Now, the stream is still a bit choppy. I'm not entirely sure why. I'm just going to kill the other instance. Now we're smooth. Okay. Watching these guys depart. Should be one more coming. There he is. Now there's music. I just turned the audio up a bit as these guys were departing. There's music, though. F10 map. Let's see how these guys are going. Separation between the two teams is 160 miles. So they've got a ways to ingress here. Task Force Trident, 2 F-14s, 2 F-16s. Looks like their F-16s are taking 4 120s, no aim 9s.
Lesson.
Roundabout, why so far apart? Because the missions this year, there's 23 different missions for the teams to pick, and they go through a mission banning process. Some missions are really short, some missions are really far. So it just depends on what the teams end up selecting on what type of mission and the length of the mission that they'll be flying. Yep, they picked this one.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that format gives a lot more control to the teams about how they want to fly their matches.
Yeah, me too.
I think for the most part, it's been pretty well received by the teams and everybody alike. I think it creates a lot more variance too for us watching and being entertained by it. It's not as much repetition as maybe we'd seen in the past with that type of stuff, right? Different environments, different stuff now, more weapons in the mix, more locations, more types of terrain. So varies things up, which I think is good for the competitive balance there, right at the end of the day.
So guys, since we're running one instance of DCS, the camera changes and stuff aren't going to be as sweet, and we're not going to have multi-view. So we're just going to have to contend with this while I troubleshoot and figure out what exactly is going on. I'm pretty sure it's TAC view.
A little foreshadowing from Marco there. It's going to get savage in a few minutes. So
yeah.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
Hopefully I don't miss anything. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the AWACS. Maybe it was somebody changed the livery and it didn't load anything correct. Capt Cleveland says, anybody face smiled yet? No, not yet.
I don't think so.
Everybody's defended pretty well. Tiger got snuck up on. He didn't just eat something and not defend, though. I've been really happy in seeing this match that everybody's been defending decently well. Nobody's really just flown headlong into things, which has been a nice change of pace. Again, all 120s coming for Task Force Trident 16s. So if we jump back over here, we can see that they're taking... Oh, they're taking 6 120s apiece. No center lines. F-14s, I believe, are taking 4 Phoenix. Interesting livery. There we go. So the F-14s are taking 4 Phoenixes, 2 AIM-7s, and 2 AIM-9s. AIM-7s, though, they've been worthless. Worthless.
Like I said, I really hope we see somebody do like a breakdown of what the deal is. Or I'd love to hear 9line or Big Nui or one of these guys. Or maybe I'll shoot him a message and ask him, what is the current status of the AIM-7? Is it right? Is it not? I looked for posts on it. I didn't see anything, but once again, I didn't really dig too hard. I'd love to hear from somebody out there. Maybe there's
would too.
Some information on what the current status is. Is it broken? Is it being worked on? It's so difficult to tell because they start working on stuff and they don't really tell us. And as beta testers, I think it really makes life difficult with the way we get kind of communicated stuff sometimes. Because if we're supposed to be testing and giving feedback, not knowing what the status of a lot of these things are, and just in general with the way we get the information, I think makes that kind of difficult.
I mean, it's just... Maybe it's just really slow in comparison to all the other missiles. So we assume it's broken after the latest missile changes.
It used to be pretty fast for a short distance. For a short distance off the rail with the motor burning, it was pretty darn good before. How close to reality that is, I don't know. And now, granted, I know the older variants didn't have very good reliability and so on and so forth. So, you know, I don't have a problem with those things kind of being on the lacking end. But some of the more modern variants, you would expect to perform better than we're seeing them.
Yeah, I agree there. Let's see.
And I know there was one that they were talking about. I think it's the P variant that we're supposed to be getting with the Hornet still. So I don't know whether the development's been kind of parked until that comes up in the pipeline. I'm not sure. Tough to tell. It's nice to see they shifted a little focus over to the 16 when they work on some of that stuff. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, one thing I'd love to hear from Nick Gray or from 9line or Wags or one of these guys, what is the man hours on creating and adding in a travel pod, and how that ended up as a line item on that survey? I have no idea, but I can't imagine that's a massive hour drain on developing and putting into the game. So that was one
I don't know.
that really jumped out at me. How that got included into that list was comical.
I don't know.
Right.
Well, I mean, maybe for ferry flights, people are just looking for immersion or something. But
well, I get it's inclusion into the game, but as someone who's worked in a 3D design development environment, I just don't see how that is this item that's going to take a lot of time to implement into the sims. Seems a bit crazy to even survey on that. I mean, and I mean, frankly, it should be an obvious answer as to where it slots and in importance, right? It's a pretty non-functional, for looks type thing only, which just seems strange that we even got asked about it.
Yeah, I try not to think about that stuff.
Yeah, no, it just jumped out to me when I was filling out that survey.
Mark 47 being launched by Rage. That's a long launch. How far is that?
I'd also like to be able to
60 miles.
Travel pod there, Squid.
60 mile.
Yeah,
54.
And we saw that in round one, which I think they clearly have a plan. I think that bases around that initial launch, which I think that's fine. I talk about not shooting on the first round. Having a plan and sticking to it, I think, is also obviously an effective strategy there. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're good at maneuvering into parameters for the shot, which it looks like these guys are. So
yeah. Fox Alpha says there's a bug with the AIM-7 and the R-27s that if you fly through the notch, you don't have to maintain it. The missile's just dead. Oh, yeah, but so that's why it sucks.
Well, it just feels like it performs differently off the rail than it used to. That's where I see it.
I don't know.
Like the visual of it coming.
The AIM-7's always been really slow.
But the notch thing does make sense for what we're seeing in TAC view. That I think spells out pretty good what we've been seeing.
I think Gemini and Marco are in a bit of trouble. Gemini and Marco are still sitting really high against these Phoenixes. There they are. There's one of them. There goes the 120. 2.5 miles. That Phoenix is going to have some juice. Inside a mile, it's dead. So Gemini gets pummeled. He gets face-miled with that Phoenix coming in. And now Marco's got a Phoenix coming in. Where is it? Where is it? I don't see it. It's blue, and I don't see it. I think this one missed. I don't see it. Where is it on the map? Yeah, it's trying to pull with them, and it ended up missing. So one of these guys gets face-miled. These guys waited way too long to defend and just get smashed. And when you're going against a Phoenix, or a Tomcat for that matter, you cannot stay that high for that long. I mean, how far away are they from their adversary? Well, Task Force tried it and didn't even bother trying to come close. It looks like they turned away. They're still 39 miles away. But that was a 60-mile Mark 47. That should not be happening.
Yeah.
You got to defend early. You got to think ahead of the airplane. Yeah, and now we got this 120 coming in on Rage, and I'm a little concerned about that. Well, no, that missile's trashed. Sorry about that, Billy. Go ahead.
No, I was just kind of going to piggyback off what you were saying there. You've got to respect those long shots and basically act as if it's going to happen, whether it does or whether it does not. Mm-hmm. If you take the time to find out whether it did without some advanced information there from somebody get visual or something like that, then it's going to be a long day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marco, you always have to assume the worst case scenario, that there is an enemy missile in the air. So you just have to react accordingly. And crank and dive, you don't even necessarily have to notch. You just have to force the missile to expend more energy as it closes in on you, and that's the reason for the crank. Because if you're coming away from the missile on a left-hand crank at 45 degrees, the missile is constantly having to turn to stay with you at an intercept angle. And if you just fly straight or turn around and fly straight, you're not forcing the missile to bleed any type of energy, which is why that crank and dive, so you're forcing the missile to expend energy, and you're dragging it down into thicker and thicker air while you're diving. That's why that's important. So you don't necessarily need to die or notch. You just need to force the incoming threat to expend energy so that it can't stay with you. 2 more Phoenixes. One's getting closer to Tiger. Another one launched by Rage. This one's still accelerating, 44,000 feet. It's off its burner now. Who launched 3 120s?
I believe, if my memory serves me here, somebody looked like they got themselves off a pretty crazy Twiz solution, and it looked like it was all within the right azimuth for everything to work out. But I don't know if the speeds and the aspects were.
Even with you got to be waiting to get in that high PK shot inside 10 miles, or at these altitudes like 12 miles, so that the missile has enough energy so that it, even if they try and defend, they're gonna die. Because when you're launching from 20 miles, if they do anything against a 120B, it doesn't have the energy state like a Mark 47. It's done for. It can't.
And I think it's also important to point out, like 120 track wall scan shots are great against, slow moving bombers, right? But you try to shoot 3 120s at 3 separate targets in DCS, especially in competitive. The odds of all 3 of them connecting are so little that you're better off taking your one shot, maneuvering, taking another shot, trying to just go,
so let me give you a situation. Let me give you a situation when it's actually effective. So when it's actually effective is when you've got 2 guys ingressing, same altitude, they're right next to each other, because you're firing at the same solution.
Right.
You're firing in the same type of environment. If you're firing at one guy and then another guy's 5 miles behind him,
slightly off aspect,
but then you have to defend early and he's slightly off, well, he's probably going to defend when his wingman defends, so you've really just wasted a missile. The only time you should ever really launch in Twiz is if you're multi-launch in Twiz is if you're, in my opinion, if you're trying to get a reaction from an enemy or from a threat, or if the firing solution is so similar that the missiles are going to behave the same way against both targets. So maybe you're at 40,000 feet, they're at 40,000 feet, and they're flying right next to each other. Then I think that would be perfectly apt to fire a multi-shot out of Twiz. Or if a guy's like a mile behind the other one, perfect opportunity to be able to do that too.
Agreed.
So there are opportunities for it. You just got to be very picky and choosy. Xander asks, is that the longest Phoenix kill this season? The longest Phoenix kill that I've seen was from 64th. I don't think we watched their match. It was with the Mark 60, and it was 70 miles. So the Mark 60's got a bit more juice though than the Mark 47. So we got that first casualty on the JTFF side, and now things seem to have slowed down. And everybody's really in a standoffish stance, and they don't want to press. I don't like Marco's positioning here. Marco's getting into, he's by himself, he's isolated. Maybe he's just trying to get low. Thought he was blacked out there for a second because there was no input coming into his plane. But I don't like these maneuvers when you're low like this, trying to line aside everything, because odds are AWACS is going to see you. And if you get seen by a higher threat, you're in a world of trouble.
You're using energy and fuel to get away from it. Yep. That's a commodity you don't want to waste.
So if we look at Rex right here, he gets a 120 off against his JTFF adversary. He's going to line of sight that missile. And now if we come over here and look at Rex, this is going to be close. No, the one against Marco isn't going to hit. And Rex is able to, I think, out-energy that missile. He pulled out of the dive. The missile didn't have enough energy to be able to pull out of it. And that missile flies straight into the ground. So Marco and Rex are able to get away from their incoming threats. Plague Doctor's now picking up Rex's role as the ingressor, coming against Marco. Can we see Marco anywhere? See his dot through the mountains. There's Marco right there off to the right. Does Plague Doctor know he's there? He's not turning into him yet. They're head-to-head. Marco's in on him. There goes a missile. So let's jump to F5U, and Marco's dead. That was just a lack, I think, of situational awareness, and that's why I don't like flying low. So I don't think that was a part of Marco not doing things right. That was just him flying low And when you fly low, you lose the ability to maintain a good amount of situational awareness, and he just got snuck up on. In all honesty, it didn't matter if Plague Doctor killed him. He would have gotten gangbanged by Rex and Rage as they formed the banger circle around Marco's position. He was just he was too this is really what led to his demise, was he was too isolated. He had no support. He was separated from his wingman by almost 30 miles, guys. 30 miles.
Yeah, that's a bit too far.
No. If you guys can see my face, this is a team competition, right? Squadrons. You got to make sure you stay with your team here. And I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm not trying to harp on anybody. I just like to use a lot of these situations as learning tools. So got to stay together, because that scenario could have gone very differently if Marco would have had a wingman. Multiple 120s coming off the rails from Rex and Plague Doctor. Raph responds with a 120 of his own. Those were launched from 12 miles. How high is Raph? 16,000 feet. How high is Rex? You can see how easy that's going to run out of energy. It's already down to 1,000 knots. If we move to Tiger, he's defending, diving low. I don't even see that missile. So it's going to be dead. Yeah, those missiles are all trashed. I'd like to see these guys regroup and then maybe do a split turn and recommit away from each other. So you stay together when you're egressing, and then you break away in opposite directions and reform into a spread formation. So you get a little bit of you're harder to sort, since you have like a 5-mile separation between you and your wingman. Plague Doctor is now ingressing. He's taken on the mantle of the aggressor. You can see both of the Joint Task Force France pilots out there. They're cross-blocking, flying across each other. I don't think either of them are hot yet. If you jump down, yep, Tiger's hot, and he's coming head-on against Plague Doctor. 120's coming from high to low. That's not... Oh, it's an AIM-9. Who's that on? It's on no one. 120 off from Plague Doctor onto Raph. He puts 2 on, and then it looks like he's breaking off onto Tiger. So we're going to... Those missiles are trashed. So we're just going to watch this. He doesn't see Tiger. He's within 2 miles of Tiger. Doesn't see him. Breaks away. But I like that he didn't bother to try and find him. You know, he realized that his situational awareness was maybe impaired, so he didn't try and push it any further. We had a Phoenix come from Chewie, but that got line of sighted. If we look at what Raph's doing, yeah, that flew in a mountain because Raph's flying really, really low.
And when to hold and when to fold him there. If you can't find that guy quickly enough, it's time to make yourself difficult to find, get space for the situation.
Here comes another Phoenix from Chewie, and this has got some juice. She's got some juice behind her. She's coming in onto... Can't tell who that's on yet. Still powered. 1,500 knots. 1,600 knots. Out of power. It's coming at Raph's dead. Unless he notches this. He is in trouble. 1 mile. He's trying to notch now, but I think it's going to be too late. He's not into the notch. Not into the notch! And he gets taken out. Face smiled. Just defended too late and wasn't able to get into the notch effectively. That missile hit him like a truck or a dump truck. That was... Chewie unloaded his load onto his face. You guys can take that how you will. But that missile had a ton of energy. He had to notch it to be able to get away from it, and he wasn't able to. So now we've got 120s coming on the left side of Tiger. He gets hit once. Can't tell if his pilot's dead. Sometimes the 120s don't do anything, but that second one is definitely going to do something, as Tiger no longer has any wings. We talk about this week in and week out. You need wings to be able to fly. Wings make you an airplane. Wings make you flyeth. And without wings, you turn into a quick-moving, falling object. So started out pretty balanced for both teams, but Task Force tried it, just took it to him. Where do you think the change in that round was, Billy? Where do you think it swung? Was it Marco when Marco got really separated? To me, that's where it happened. When Marco was by himself.
The separation, I don't know if it was handled as well as it probably should have been there in that second round. You know, when you go that route, backing each other up is definitely important there. And when that no longer is an option, that strategy becomes very thin at that point. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You really have to take out one real quick if you're gonna pull that off.
Mm-hmm. And Task Force Trident didn't lose anybody. They still have everybody up. And I really think that the changing point of that was Marco getting separated and just getting gangbanged by the 3 ship of Task Force Trident. If he would have had a wingman or would have stayed with his formation, that incursion could have gone very, very differently. And that's the importance of staying with your element and not getting isolated. I mean, that's why in wars fought in the past that you stick with your wingman. If you get isolated, you're easy pickings because you're only really able to sort on close targets one at a time. Where if you're getting sorted by multiple, you can only shoot at one of them. It's really difficult to get all 3 of them, especially when they're coming in from multiple directions. Attacked at the same time.
Your only option at that point is to move away. Move away, create space and distance, and that's all you can do. You to be dragging back towards his friend.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Easy, but that's what you want to be focusing on once you get separated. Is how can I bring these guys that have now found me closer to my friends so they can help me, and that's where we talk about the separation. The separation is so important there because if you don't maintain decent separation, the odds of you getting, cut off to the side or closed off by yourself is pretty high. You've really got to focus on it.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I mean, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, so Marco could have turned that into a bag and drag situation. And what I mean by that is, piggybacking on what you said, the only solution, really good solution in that scenario is to turn away, to run away. You drag your adversaries into a point where your wingmen are able to help you out. And you create a situation where your adversary is focused on you and not the other friendlies, and you create a kill situation for your team instead of you yourself getting taken out. So you just got to try and create the best scenario out of any of these situations. And that was a decent opportunity for a bag and drag as long as he didn't get run down. Now, something else you have to think about is that he was fighting F-14s that had the Phoenix. So even if he would have tried to run, he would have had to be able to run or defend against a much more energy efficient weapon in the Phoenix, which makes running a lot more difficult, especially if they're already that close.
Absolutely. No, nicely played by both teams. I think TFT definitely came out in the second round and put the foot on the pedal there. There was no doubt. But not that I think important to point out JTFF definitely had some opportunities throughout that second match where they could have kind of pulled things around or changed things. But yeah, it's two good matches. It is now I think the last two matches in general have been pretty good levels of competition on a gold. You can tell guys improving and all that kind of stuff. So good to see.
Who flies in the next round? So we're riding along with Chewy as they RTB. I'm assuming JTFF asked them to RTB. And while we ride along, I'm going to see who the next fight is. So the next fight is going to be Taw Wolfpack taking on JG78. So we haven't seen Taw fly yet this year, so that's the first time we're going to see them fly. We saw JG78 taking on German Tactical Air Group. They fell to German Tactical Air Group earlier this year. So will JG78 make this their grudge match and bring it back to 1-1 in their league standings, or is Taw going to defend their SATAL 2019 Gold League crown and take it to JG78? I think that'll be an interesting one. We have not seen Taw fly yet this year. So that'll be happening on Tuesday at 1500 Zulu. For people asking for more than one match today, we only do one match a day. It makes these streams a little bit more digestible. It's easier on Billy and I to cast them because when we were doing 2 streams especially when the streams or 2 matches, especially when the matches would go long, we felt like we were dying. So we didn't want to do anything. We were really tired at the end of the day. So these are much more digestible and easier for Billy and I to handle. But the next match will be Tuesday at 1500 Zulu. Again, that's Tall Wolfpack taking on JG78. Then Thursday's match will be Harpia taking on ECV 56 Condor. So that's Thursday's match. And then Saturday's match next week will be Task Force Trident against Phoenix Task Force.
Should be another good one as well.
It should be. It definitely should be.
I think we're going to see the overall level of play in gold really progress as the season begins to move on.
Oh, for sure.
We saw that last year with it, where teams, as they start flying together more, get more of these batches under their belt, you really start to see guys figure it out and things come together. And that, I think, is probably one of my favorite parts of SATAL.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Still just riding along with these guys as they RTB. Let's see how far they have to go. They should be getting closer. So Task Force Trident is 60 miles away from base. Not too much further to go. Somebody said that they had a van in college that looked like Rex's F-16. It reminds me of the van from, has anybody seen the, I think it's a, is it a Disney movie or a DreamWorks movie, Onward?
That sounds familiar.
Reminds me of that van. Do you know what time Jazzy flies?
Jumper for the race?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure. It should, I'm assuming in the next hour, if he hasn't already flown. I don't know. One of the guys who's watching, I think they're all in the Discord over there, might be able to tell us. I'm assuming it's going to be within the next hour to 2 hours if he hasn't already flown.
Okay.
I know it was close to when we were going to be wrapping up here. So. But he is pretty darn fast, man. He's been hanging in the top of that leaderboard.
Well, he's ranked number 2, right?
I think for this qualification, he is, and I think he's in the top 10 for the standing so far. There's only been one race, but I think he got some significant points too for qualifying quite high this week as well. I believe Jump should be flying in 10 minutes. Okay, excellent. Thanks.
That
Sam.
should be pretty close to perfect for when we wrap up here in comparison to when he starts.
Get to see him out there in the Athena Wild Weasel extra 530. Is it Edge 530?
Yeah.
I think is it 540?
Are there any prizes for the virtual air racing series?
I'm not sure how.
Or is it all for the glory?
I'm not positive. I know there's some stuff going on over there with all that, but I believe the season's quite long too. I believe it ends, I think, in October or maybe a little after that. I'm not positive. Might go longer.
What we're gonna do? People are asking where to see them. I'm gonna send you guys over. We're gonna raid their channel as soon as we're done. So I'm gonna send you guys over as soon as this completes. So you guys don't even need to worry about trying to find them. As soon as these guys land, I'm gonna send you over to where the air races are taking place, and you guys can watch from there. What do you think, Billy, that Joint Task Force needed to do to be able to come up on top? My biggest thing is I think they needed to do a bit better job of staying together. I think.
Agreed. I think, like I said, if you're gonna do that formation split where the 2 guys go off, you really got to have a solid plan for what you're gonna do once you're off by yourselves, and you have to be very sure that you don't lose somebody when you're that split off. And I don't think staying that split for long is the smart thing. One of those groups should be looking to try to drag the other group. Should be separate, eliminate, and then drag back. That should be kind of part of that whole process there. I think. But I mean, that's some stuff I think you're going to see those guys work on and kind of get down a little bit more as the season goes on. That's stuff that it's not stuff we're used to seeing here, and I think it takes a little bit of coordination and practice to get down right. But I do like seeing teams do different stuff. I mean, we both agree it is not something we normally see here, and there may be a reason for that. But I think at the end of the day, teams getting outside the box, doing some more unorthodox stuff, trying to develop some new strategies is really the route to go, because as we've seen in Diamond, you know, the strategies get very predictable, and when they become predictable like that, I think it takes away from the overall match in general. So to see these teams kind of focus on creating strategies that not only are different but work, I think is pretty cool too.
Quick shout out to Southern Jumper. He dropped a few more bits. I think it was another 1,000 bits is what I'm going to say that he threw in here. I think he's put up about 2,000 bits in today. Task Force Trident says, watch Rex on his landing for some funnies. All right, we'll follow along with Rex as he comes in. Let me move to his... Where's Rex? There's Rex. So we'll follow along with Rex as he comes in here.
Stop pulling me.
Where is Sanaki? Where is the Sanaki Hill?
Yes, the
Sanaki's right over there. I think it's... Yeah, I see it. I got Sanaki right in... Right center, the top center of the screen is where it's at right now. Rex, maybe you're just easy to bully. You're just one of those people. No, I don't support bullying at all. You're being poked at, is what we'll say. AWACS, how did I get it to have a custom skin? You can set them to have whatever livery you want. I think it's broken right now because of a number 15 livery, I think. That's my assumption, at least. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, it's got the broken digital camo going on, like it's missing a texture. So, Billy, something that I had mentioned earlier that I was pretty excited about was I found a way to, and this is just giving us something to talk about while these guys are coming home. I found a way to export my DCS MFCDs without having them... Well, I can export them over the network. So I can still utilize G-Sync and stuff with my main screen at a higher refresh rate than my touch screens. And it opens up a lot of possibilities. I've been trying to find a way to fine-tune it, but this is going to change the way that I'm able to play. Because in the past, I haven't been able to use G-Sync, which has sucked. It's really bothered me.
Yeah, I can imagine that gets a little frustrating there, just not having the ability to kind of do that when you know how much it can kind of affect things at the end of the day. So
I'm just talking to the developer right now, trying to figure out ways to speed up the connection, because there's a little bit of lag between, and it's like 200 milliseconds or 100 milliseconds of lag between what you see on screen and what you see in the exports, and it's not completely smooth. Frames are sent out like once every 100 to 200 milliseconds. There's a little bit of a delay, so I'm just trying to figure out how to get that pulled down so I can make it a little bit more usable. It's usable right now. I just need to make it perfect. I guess he suggested, I just read a message he sent me. He said to make the images smaller, the export images, which is fine, because once you export them, the cool thing about how he's doing it is you set up each export and then you can resize it after it's exported. You don't have to mess with the export lure or anything to find its location after the initial point. So you could export something at 400 pixels wide and then make it 1,000 pixels wide if you wanted to, just by dragging the window. So I thought that was pretty cool. And so that's what I've been working on. But I guess now, on top of having to work on that, I now need to figure out why the DCS clients were freaking out today and what's going on with TACView. And I guess I need to bring my laptop down here and see if we can run TACView on it. Oh, you said you were going to run TACView next week.
Yeah, we can. Well, I think we can figure that out and come up with a system that kind of works for that. Because yeah, I got two machines here, and either one could probably be utilized for some.
Yeah, it's just going to come down to you hitting the unpause or the play button at the same time that I do.
Well,
that's really all it comes down to.
I mean, I'm pretty good with the choreography, so I think I can pull that one off, my dude.
You think you can make push and button happen?
I'm not gonna make any promises, but I think I can handle it. I think so. We'll see.
Rex, we're all watching, brother. 300 knots. He's not in a bad position. He's okay. Oh, he's going to pass the F-14s.
More like sexy Rexy in that livery, let me tell you that much.
Is he going to pass him? No, he's doing okay. I mean, I'd like to see him a little bit further behind Chewie in this instance, but he's all right. 160 knots. Is he going to come in too slow now? We're getting more alpha. 140 knots. 130. And we look like we might be coming in short. I think we're going to touch down short. Oh, maybe not. He gave it more power. 169. And we're off. Are we off? We're off. Well, he didn't force it. I like that he didn't force it. He broke the landing off. So that, oh, it doesn't. He says it doesn't. We'll give it another go. Does he just try and pull it back in? All right, Rex, we'll leave it there. I won't push you anymore. We'll leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is all she wrote for today's matchup. Joint Task Force France taking on Task Force Trident. Task Force Trident takes it 2-0 over this Makop Senaki mission location. I think Task Force Trident, as was pointed out in chat, only lost 1 aircraft during that matchup. I thought there was more.
I'm pretty sure it was only 1. I don't remember exactly, but pretty.
They only lost 1 aircraft, but well flown by both teams. I think the biggest issue for Joint Task Force France was just that they were too separated. And I'm watching the landing right now, and uh-oh. I think he just came in too fast on that second one and may roll off the end of the runway. F-16 brakes, has no brakes. It doesn't slow down. I think he's just gonna roll off the end. Fine. Nah, I'm not gonna push people to that. Yeah, he just rolls off the end. I don't think he blows up. Oh. He ran into one of the light poles and ended up stopping. His aircraft came to an abrupt stop. But that's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. Billy, you got anything else? You and the mustache before we send everybody out?
I think we're good. We're gonna raid the VARS stream there.
We are. So we're gonna head over to the virtual air racing stream. Say hi to everybody there on behalf of SATAL. Enjoy it. We've got. Is it Jumper? Jumper's flying. So everybody go support Jumper. He's a big supporter of this stream here. Go support him. He's doing really well in the virtual air racing series. Virtual air racing is something really cool to watch, but we're going to head over there. Next stream is going to be Tuesday, 1500 Zulu, followed by Thursday and Saturday. We do that every week. Not sure if TACView is going to be a thing on Tuesday, depending on what I find out if it did to my my frames here. We may try it without it next week just to see if anything's better. But that's all I got. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, have a good one. Enjoy the Supercut and enjoy virtual air racing on this wonderful Saturday. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, good luck, Jump.